we haven't done that, I'm thinking, is because there are so many veteran project banders now that move through songs more quickly. Like we used to hold on to a song longer, as a part of an assignment collectively. Like everybody had a song for a long time, but there's a lot more movement. However, when we go into Houston for the last round in September, right before the show, that might be a good thing to do because there'll be a lot of folks going into Houston with their song. Yeah. Remind me.
Okay.
So what was the other one you were
The other one is the looping concept and building that or just changing it in some way. I mean, there's so many components of that in and of itself, right? Like just holding on to something and then like I said, like building it more and more, whether that's like traveling with that thing that you're doing or making it larger and starting small and making it more accented or
right.
Yeah, so there's so many things.
There is. And that's one of the things that has evolved tremendously just in the last year since we've been Isaac'd. Because that started with this whole notion that when you're dancing to Arabic music, a lot of times if they played a section and it's getting some good audience response, they're going to repeat it. And it's going to be bigger and juicier. And then if everybody's still like, whoa, then they're going to repeat it. And it's going to be bigger and juicier. And if you kind of sort of knew what you were going to do to that once, you run out of material really fast. And only once. Yeah. And you kind of want to recognize that it's a repeat. Like, this isn't like a new song. It is a repeat. So you generally want to own some aspect of what you'd done the first time. And yet it's more. And so you want to express that. And it's slightly different. So you want to express that. So it started like that, like ibtada, 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 mishwad. I'm singing in Arabic. Da 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 da. And that's a part of Mawaoud. And that's one that can go on and 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 on. And so that's where that came from. When we Isaac'd it, when we took it to Isaac is our guitarist here that we discovered, who is helping us with so many aspects of Project Band. And we started working with him on repetition, and he started shrinking it down. And this was even cooler. So instead of ibtada, ibtada, ha 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 da 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 da, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's a 16 count phrase that could get repeated over and over, right? You send it over to somebody that you have access to on a weekly basis, like we do Isaac, and he starts compressing it. So instead of the 16 count repetition where we're used to practicing it, he pulls it down to 8 or 4, or pretty soon you have eb, and you're having to, and this is live, okay? This is live. He's doing this to us live, and you're having to find rapid variety for tiny segments of stuff. And that, I've never thought about the benefits of that until it started happening and I started watching everybody handle it. It's so cool. Born of that repetition idea that is very common in Arab music, but now it's just morphed into its own game that probably isn't really going to happen to you on stage, but it's such a great exercise, such a great exercise. Yeah. So that's
the benefits of that.
Oh my God. Yes. Putting yourself through that. You got 2 counts that are repeating way more than you ever wanted them to. What are you going to do about it? There's a bug in this room.
There is a bug in this room.
Yeah. So at Go Live in October, as much as I would like to do all of this with everybody, I've got one little tiny class because I'm going to be inundated, I'm sure, with the reality of a massive event. But in my one little tiny class, I am going to have Michael and Isaac. So we've got Michael playing whatever he chooses to play since he plays everything. And Isaac on guitar, even though I know Isaac plays other things too. And we're going to just talk at a 1-track level, a taksim level and solo improvisation level about how you can listen to those things and follow those things. And I really want to delve into how, as a dancer, you can actually find an accomplished jazz-trained musician and learn a lot from that is transferable to the Arabic music scene. Michael was quick. I'm talking about Michael Ibrahim, for those of you who don't know. I just assume the world knows Michael. Michael Ibrahim, who's the founder and conductor of the National Arab Orchestra up in Detroit. like their YouTube, subscribe to their YouTube page, like their Facebook page. So Michael was like, that's a darn good idea you guys have there, finding somebody who's trained in jazz and can improvise and all that, and working with them, absent a whole bunch of Arab musicians in town who naturally improvise. So yeah, working that together is going to be pretty darn fun. But hey, more on that later, because I've got to stay in order here, because Guyland published this thing. So all right, this is the extension of last year's GBDAC. That was the 25th anniversary. All of the musicians we had a lot of musicians in town last year. Did you notice?
A lot.
22 to be exact. And the way the shows broke out, we had Lamam's ensemble playing in one show, and that was George Lamam and Gabriel Navia and Nasser Musa and Susu Pampanin, and we had Miguel Crespo here from Bogota, Colombia also. Mm-hmm. They were in one show. Another night, it was Michael and the NAO guys, right? So I don't know who all was that. Michael and Firas Sadiq on the Kanun. Nashwan Ishak, is he who played oud? I think so. I'm trying to see their faces right now in my head.
Gosh, I don't know.
Who was on violin? Our little Dallas Betty, but I think he's not playing with them this year. Anyway, violin, we had several percussionists, Gilbert.
And two singers, not
Eddie,
one, but two.
Right, singers, Usama Balbeki and Nibal Malshi. Yeah, I mean, it was just glorious. And so, and then we, of course, had our awesome bring in the Gafour brothers from Houston guys, too. And I want y'all to talk a little bit about your experience with your piece of music, those musicians that you were with on that night, because I know y'all were on two different nights with two different groups of musicians. So whoever wants to go first, tell us what you danced to, if you remember, which group of musicians you danced to, and just talk a little bit about that.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah, Karen was generous enough to give me the choice of who I wanted to dance with, and of course I chose the NAO because I'd never danced with them before, and I thought that would be just a wonderful experience, and it was. What I thought was really the most interesting, I don't remember what I danced to.
It was really hard.
It was really hard, and I was fighting with it. But I do remember.
I remember. I hear it in my head, and I wouldn't even try to butcher the title right now. Hang on, I'm gonna look at it.
But I remember that we did have a rehearsal with Michael the night before, a couple nights before, like Thursday night, and he was generous enough. They didn't play our whole piece of music, but
because he knows it's improvised kind of stuff, and he doesn't want y'all to not have an element of surprise. Yay, Michael.
But he was generous enough to play the beginning so we could figure out how to get on stage, how to enter, and the very end so we would know how to end. And I was pleasantly surprised that when he played my music, I had worked so hard on it that I knew right where he was when he would pick up. And when he got to the end, I was ready for it. I'm like, this is the end, hit my end pose. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God.
Oh, thank God you recognize the music?
Oh, thank God I recognized the music. Oh, thank God my entrance wasn't cray-cray. And I ended right with the music.
You hit the pose.
I hit the pose in the center of the stage, the pose I wanted on the music. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yes.
But it was interesting, yes?
Indema Yatal Masa.
Yeah.
I remember that. Indema. Like it's a big hold, but I don't remember how the rest of it goes, and I probably didn't say any of that right. But yeah, it was.
But I will say, because I'm very accustomed by this point, because I've danced with them so many times, the Gafour brothers, that I've kind of become a little accustomed to how they play things. And so dancing with the NAO was very different.
Yes. Particularly last year, because they didn't have any keyboards or accordion or whatever, so it was all that raw sounding instrumentation. Yes. It'll be a little bit different this year because Michael does want to have a keyboard or an accordion in the mix, but
so the flourishes and how they started and ended things were all very different, and I thought it was just really a great experience for me to be exposed to that with them.
Great. Yes, very good.
And I danced Sunday with the Gafour brothers. So fun. Oh my gosh, what did I do? But want to speak into
Salamat Hassan.
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
you had the medley.
Oh, so fun. So fun. And that's when you were talking about dancing with them before and kind of knowing maybe where they're going to go and stuff. And so then it's like a comfort, right? Like they're our boys.
Yes, I know.
Right. So then, even if they go off somewhere, you can turn around and they're so smiley and having such a great time. Like they comfort. For me, they're a comfort. If I'm like, oh my God, where am I? I don't know what's happening. I can just turn around. They're
Yeah.
yeah. So then I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. I'll figure it out and we'll be fine.
They're shaking their head
yeah,
at you,
they're
going,
like,
yeah, you're good. Go.
So it's, wonderful.
Yeah. They are incredible. Even the fact that they're brothers. They have Wasim with them now playing violin. He's folded in beautifully. But the other three brothers who've literally been playing music together for their entire lives, so tight. So perfect. And then of course Rami's screams that cue you something awesome is coming up so that you can't miss it. It's just it's
fun.
Priceless.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
So fun.
Yeah. And so and this year you're with the NAO
Again, yes.
And this year you're with Houston.
I think yes,
Again.
yeah.
Yes. Well, I danced. Actually, I didn't dance to the NAO last year.
You did a little bit.
Well, with a group.
But not a solo, right?
No, I didn't have a solo with the NAO last year.
But you did have a short improv section in there.
Don't make this sound better than it was. I did not have a solo with the NAO last year.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But I will.
Okay.
This
Good.
year.
You better.
I just didn't want the show to be too terribly long. Here's why. Because they had their show with all of us, and the next night they had a concert. So when they got to town, they were literally rehearsing 30 pieces of music,
Oh, yeah. I totally
So
forgot
it was
about
like,
that.
oh my God, we just can't overload. It's just a lot of stuff. So I was really trying to watch the number of dancers that were dancing with them on Friday. Not a problem this year. We don't have a concert. So yes. Okay. So a little bit more about what's going to be on the stage at Go Live on Friday night. Still need to talk to George Lamam about this. Hey, he's not watching, is he?
If he is, hi, George.
So on Friday night, what we need to have happen here is that Michael said it was okay. That's not going to help me with George. We're going to have the Arab music ensemble on stage. I'm visualizing. Stage left, upstage, all set up with all their equipment, and then stage right, whatever the hell, in the back, is going to be Fat Sauce. That's Isaac. Okay, and all of his guys, they play, what do they play? Cover tunes, right? Like, what are some of the songs that they play?
Georgie Porgy.
They play Sunday
Kiss,
Morning. Prince. They play Prince stuff. They play, God, I can't feel my face when I'm with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Weekend.
So
The Weekend.
they play those kind of songs. And so that Friday night show is going to have live music with such a diverse range. The first half of the show is going to be the Arab music. The second half of the show is going to be the Fat Sauce guys. And then the part that I still need to talk to Lamam about is that fused piece. But Lamam's all about fusion. He's going to be fine. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. Michael said it's a good idea. So yeah. And we have several group choreographies that we're doing to the Fat Sauce stuff. That's what's on the schedule right now that we're working on. But there will be some of the project band dancers performing with the Lamam ensemble on Friday night.
And one choreography with
Oh,
George.
right. You have a choreography to Desert Nomad.
Right.
That's what the Lamam is going to be playing live.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, let's just branch off for a second and talk about that. Like, what is there to learn, you think? This is like so off the cuff. Good luck here, girls. Just kidding. From doing group choreography, participating in a group choreography. So let's say you don't want to be a soloist that dances with live music. That's not, like, you're not in project band. You don't want to dance to live music as a solo. That's not your thing. But you want to do that choreography that's going to be done to live music. What is there to learn from that as a dancer? Anything different than when you're performing that same choreography to a recording? What?
When it's a recording, I think the biggest change I see from doing a choreography to a recording to live is the tempo. It's going to change. And you have to be able to be flexible to adjust to it.
Okay, you're right.
So you're still doing the same movements. You have to understand how they correlate to the music itself, so that if the tempo changes faster or slower, and George likes to go faster, bless his heart, you can easily adapt and still do the movement to that music when you need to do it.
You're right. Was that the fastest dancing bear we've ever danced in our
Oh
lives?
my God. Oh my God.
That was the choreography.
That
y'all
was
were both in
so,
it.
yes.
And it
we're
was-
all traumatized from it.
And it was veil. And so we're like whipping that veil around.
That was our choreography to the La Mama Ensemble last year. Yes, it was
Oh my God.
really fast.
I'm surprised nobody pulled a shoulder
I
or
know
rotator
it, but it
cuff
kept
or
us
something.
smiling.
Yeah.
Boy, it kept us smiling. We were just like,
Yeah.
yeah. What else? Anything, Jessica? Do you have a thought about that?
Well, I guess from our experience with Blinding Lights recently, the hot weekend, whenever that was.
That's every weekend these days, but
And-
yeah, it was in May.
and that piece of music starts right away. And so I think that's what we were expecting. But then they kind of did a little, I don't know, they were warming up and I don't know what they were doing. But then they started. And so we were like, oh, now we're starting. And then sometimes they go different directions. So
Yeah.
it goes back to being flexible and listening. It goes back to that skill of listening, because you can't just be like, well, this move is coming next. Yeah, it could come next. Or maybe they're going to play a different section again, repeat that section, or go on to the chorus, or play the chorus again or something. So then you have to, okay, how do we start the chorus again? Or
Yes.
how do we-
Right. Hopefully we'll be able
So-
to minimize that in a rehearsal for the October show, but they're human. They're human and they have habits just like us. And a lot of times that way they generally play that song isn't what we've asked them to do, but under the pressure and adrenaline of performance, they could easily go back to what they're more used to. And yeah, I mean, I remember, I think I was talking about this the other day. The year was like 2002 or 3. I mean, it's been a minute, when Janet had done a choreography to one of Nasser's pieces of music, and it just went like so south. And afterwards, he was like, "I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I just decided to go back to that verse. I don't know why.
Or my favorite was a little bit more recently when we were doing a drum solo with
At Yahala Y'all.
at Yahaliyal with Miguel, and he skipped a whole section. And we all went total blank. And thank God you were in the front row. You picked it up immediately. You picked up that choreography at that point, and we all followed you. But everyone in the audience knew something happened.
Yes.
It was very obvious.
It was very obvious. Yes,
And
it
that
was
works
very
on
obvious.
your reaction time, right?
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. And let me just branch off for a moment and say, because I can imagine any dancer listening to this right now is like, holy shit, I don't ever want to. But this all redounds to using live music as a means to an end, not thinking of your performance to something with live music as, oh, no. Like, and that's what I really want us and anybody that'll come on to the mat with us to consider, is that I know performance opportunities to live music are few and far between, but they don't have to be. Like, we created a circumstance here where we do it all the time. Anybody who wants to come to Go Live, that's going to be hopefully an annual thing. Hopefully, that can be the target. Just go to that every year and you're going to have some time to work with live music. Use it as a means to inform your decision making, That way you don't have to be thinking of any opportunity to dance to live music as, oh God, this needs to be really good. I mean, the video cameras are running and God knows if I'm ever going to dance to live music again and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it can be really, really fun and spontaneous, even in a group choreography. Okay, yeah, so that's a little bit trickier, but it can still be really fun and spontaneous, and you can learn a lot about yourself, when those pockets come up. I had a thought. What was it? And it was how talking about blinding lights. That was Weekend's song too, right? Weekend does that, and Fat Sauce played that, and in a group like Fat Sauce, and several of the groups that we work with, they can break that song open and insert improvisation stuff. The guitarist take a solo, trumpet player take a solo, bass player take a solo, drummer knock out a drum solo, whatever. So that there is that open space for pure improvisation. It has nothing to do with the bookends that they have when they break the song open. So that's always a cool thing too. Desert Nomad doesn't have that, does it? Does it have that?
Well, Desert Nomad is interesting because the first half is very structured, and the second half is more of a taksim.
Okay. So it will have that. I figured most of George's compositions do.
So
okay, good.
Yeah, that taksim portion is going to be very interesting.
Okay, yeah, because it ain't going to sound like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
He always wants to make a point that we understand that and we don't want it. I mean, I
can't choreograph to that. It's going to have to get broken out.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Here's the other thing I think is fun about, like if a dancer doesn't want to be a soloist, but she's working on a choreography to live music, there's this. Okay, how do I want to say this? Like when you're training as a soloist to dance to live music, and we consider the aspect of ornamentation and decoration and phrases, like you're listening to a version of this song, but when they play it, it's going to be like, ooh, much, they're just going to stretch it and compress it and all this kind of stuff to make it sound more interesting and very unique to that particular rendition. As a soloist, you want to try to catch those. As a group dancer dancing to a choreography, I think it's also a fun exercise to notice them but let them go by. Like I heard that happen, but it's not going to make me, like you're like, okay, marching band, you're doing your choreography and you go because you heard it. Like you can't do that, but you have to recognize that you're still in that section of the music. I can remember early on in Project Band asking dancers to map music, and sometimes the ornamentation can get so elaborate that they thought they were moving on to another section of the song, when actually you're in the same thing, man. It's just that they've pitched it out to a soloist who's decorating it so much that it sounds like you're moving on in the song, but you're actually still repeating that same line over and over and over. So I think training yourself to recognize and deal with that, even if it's as a group solo, not a group solo, what is that? As a group dancer, a dancer dancing in a group, that's a really handy thing, and it helps you in your listening, and that can only be a good thing as a dancer that you listen more deeply. Okay, great. Moving on. Okay, now we can talk about the workshop instructors, because I was getting off on that with me and Michael and Isaac, blah. Okay, but I was out of order. So now we can talk about that a little bit. So we are going to do that workshop together. Also, we have Layla Farid coming back. Did you guys do her workshop last year? Yeah.
No.
So you were in there because she danced in Egypt with her own band and everything for God, I don't know what that was, 13, 15 years or something. So she's got like a perspective that none of us have or are going to have about dealing with live music and listening to live music and reacting to things when they happen.
Well, and dealing with the musicians off the floor, either before or after your performance. She pulled a lot of that in also. Right.
Yes. So she's going to be offering a similar workshop this year. And then she's also, however, going to do another class specifically addressing taksim and drum solo, like how she handles that. Because everybody like all of us who work in a room together and talk about that still, I think, would have a different way of dealing with it. So it'll just be fun to get her perspective on how that's going to work. So she's going to be doing a couple of classes, and then we have Valerie Molinari coming out of Miami. Do you guys know who that is? Yes. Okay. And she is going to be working with a piece of music. I won't say which one, but I know what it is. A piece of music, and that whole idea of versioning and how different versions can be, and then that live version, and what I expect to have happen here, and it's what happens to all of us, I think. Let me get my head around how I want to say this. I want to say that as you're, oh my God, okay, hold on. All my neuro pathways just went, you know how that happens sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah, I hate it so much.
If you want, we can get up and dance for a few seconds
That's
while you
good.
pull it
Yeah,
together.
yeah. I mean, it's just like there's so many things. That's why I asked for these other notes. Hold on, because I said it earlier today. Yeah, it's hard to find every version of a piece of music. Like, say for example, okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna dance to Sawa, all right, to live music. So you go on YouTube and you put in the search Sawa. And so here it is. Here's Abdul Halim's. You get to hear the original. And then here's like 800 other people playing it. And so you're listening to all of these versions. You're like, oh, I see that's different. Oh, I see that's different. Oh, they're repeating that section a whole bunch of times. I guess that could happen. Oh my gosh, this one's playing that section on oud. I've never heard that before. I guess that could happen. And you're logging all of this at a pretty, I think, superficial level. When you see musicians then do it, like you're sitting in a room and the band plays Sawa, you're in a class with them, because that's what's going to happen here. You're in a class with musicians dealing with this particular piece of music. And then they say, or this could happen. Like we could play this whole phrase like this, or it could be done like this. And you're witnessing it live, and you can go, why? Why would you do that? Well, I would do that for whatever. That you're going to log those variations at a much deeper level. You're going to hear Sawa differently every time you hear it, and I would argue everything differently every time you hear it, because you're sitting there with the creators of the sound, watching it happen, and you have time to interact with them too. Yeah. So while listening to a million different versions of a piece of music can prepare you to go out and dance to something live, and it does develop your listening, when you are watching it created, and especially in a learning setting, in a classroom setting, in a workshop setting, I just think that that's going to have a much deeper impact. A lot of times when we go and work with the bands, and I need to remind people of this again, I know we've talked about it before, but it's like, okay, when your comrades are up there dancing, you've seen them a million times. Look past them. Watch those musicians. Watch them make those decisions, have little mini meetings about where they're going to go, figure out where the forks are in your music, that like, oh, I didn't realize they could do that section after that section. I never heard that before. But you can see them making those decisions. You can see them choosing to amp this up, pull that down, whatever. I mean, it's all great information about how they're creating this sound that you're choosing to dance to, And so the more you can have about that, the better you're going to be at. Because what is Project Band all about? We ask this question all the time. What is Project Band all about? Variety. The more you will have the opportunity to create variety in the way you are presenting your dance. Michael said one time in some class, you should be able to hear a piece of music and hear it differently every time. And I'm not sure there are a lot of dancers that can do that. I've heard many a dancer say, oh God, don't make me dance to, we'll pick on Sawa. Don't make me dance to Sawa. I know a choreography to that song. So every time you hear that song, you have to do that choreography. Every time you hear that song, that choreography comes to mind. Why? Because you were taught to hear it a certain way. So is that the only way to hear it? No,
Yeah.
And so finding different ways to hear the music is what creates the variety. But I'm just going to wrap up my obvious passion-filled soapbox speech right now by saying that when you watch the people creating it and you understand why they're doing what they're doing, or at least see some semblance of why they're doing what they're doing, the impact is much deeper. Okay.
And that's one.
Mic drop.
Well, and that's one of the things that I love about the Gafour brothers is, we could have a piece of music, and they've played it a half a dozen times, and we have it recorded. A half a dozen different dancers, and you can go listen to every single one of those, and they will all sound very different.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
But listening to them is one thing. Going there And watching them and listening to them play it another time and watching a dancer deal with it is totally different than just listening to the different versions at home or in the studio.
Right. And that's just, excellent point, Cindy. And pull that over to Go Live. Like, even if you didn't take a frickin' class, why wouldn't you? There's live music in every class. But even if you just came and watched every show, like oh my God, the concerts of it. You've got George Lamond playing several of his own compositions. You've got the Fat Sauce guys playing cover music and playing it well. But what matters to me most about them is how they break it open. And you've got these killer soloists taking their turns at improvisation. That's on one night. Then Saturday night's the National Arab Orchestra musicians. I mean, like, end of that discussion. Hello. Just go watch the National Arab Orchestra in concert. Right here in Texas. Thank you. I mean, like, just come do that. And then on Sunday night, the Gafour Brothers band, that nightclub vibe. I mean, if everybody played Sawa, if Fat Sauce played Sawa, if Lamam played Sawa, if the NAO, can you imagine? If the NAO played Sawa and the Gafour brothers played Sawa, actually, this needs to happen. There needs to be a piece of music that everyone plays, just because it would, oh my God, like, that would just be so cool, because it's such different instrumentation, such a different vibe, such a different everything. Yeah. So that's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go with 7. 7 hours of live music just being immersed in, and not just live music, but the kind of music you dance to, the kind of music you want to dig into. And they all know that they're playing for dancers. And so they're going to pull every trick out of their bag to bring it on those stages. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's going to be incredible.
It is going to be incredible. It is going to be incredible. Oh my God. I hope I don't,
break your
kill myself or
I don't know. Something deep in there.
No, it is going to be incredible. I want to branch off for a second. This isn't on the list, Skyline, and I apologize. We're doing okay. Because when I think about this Go Live conference, this is going to be a little bit raw. You're going to like this, Skyline. And thinking of how it's different from most other dance workshop conference festivals or whatever. Here's the number one thing. Ready? The number one thing is everything is live music. Got it. Here's the equally number one thing. Most of the time, when a dancer registers to attend a conference, I'm going to take all of these workshops because they look great. What night am I dancing in the show? What night do I get to get up there with those awesome musicians? What's my assignment in the show? When do I get to talk to the musicians about what I'm doing? And that's not how this is. That's not how this is. That's why we're having a multi-hour dance jam on Sunday with all of these great musicians, so that workshop participants can get up on stage with some of the live music. But that is a whole separate thing that is not about the nighttime shows. So that's a big freaking difference. And I suspect it's going to be an issue for some people. And I'm more than ready, more than ready to talk about it. Because number one, we're in transition. We're in transition from an annual studio showcase where all solos done to live music was about the project band dancers and them showing what they had been working on for the past year. And so that's what remains this year. All solos. There's going to be a few guest dancers and, of course, the teachers. But all solos in those shows, to Lamam, to the NAO, to the Gafours, are being done by people who've been in the project band curriculum at Caravan Studio for the last year. Not somebody who's registering to come and have an experience with live music in the class and then step up on the stage and dance to those musicians, right? That's not what's going to happen there. And nor will it as long as I'm running it. Because I've been to a million shows where there's a segment with live music and the opportunity is missed. The opportunity to learn something from that live music experience is missed. I know it's fun. I know it's fun to get up on stage and dance to live music. And if you can get a catalog of songs and go, I want LB Ashika by Robert. Who's Robert Alemi? That must be Raghib's brother. By Raghib Alemi. And so you're like, and then you can listen to the song over and over, and you're like, and when they go, hey, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then you get up on stage and do it. Okay, great. You have a cool video and you got to dance to live music, and that's it. And you're not going to dance to live music again. It could have been so much more. Mm-hmm. It could have been so much more. And that's what I have learned, probably more than how to break my habits. That's what I have learned most from Project Band, is that being exposed to live music doesn't have to just be a one-time shot. It needs to be an iterative thing that we build into our dance curriculums, or at least our personal journeys, to help us grow. And so, yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea of Susie Q. Bint El-Masri signing up for the whole package of the conference. She's been dancing for 2 years, but she's looking forward to her time up on stage with the live music. I'm not a fan of that idea. I am a fan of people maybe over time when they have worked with live music quite a bit, and I'll have to figure out a way to know that, right? But people who have worked with live music and who have dug into it deeper than just that top layer of I do my thing to them, and I'll nail certain sections as long as I know what song I'm dancing to. If we can get beyond that, then I feel more comfortable opening up shows to other people. But right now, the shows are all about the people that have been in the year-long curriculum. And my God, how many hours in a year do you guys spend dancing to live music? Holy God. Like, it's weekly now. It's weekly
Well,
now.
and not just dancing to live music, but all of the work at home that goes into those
and
performances.
watching your videos and gagging and going, okay, I'm going to change that. And then changing it in the studio or changing it in your home, but then taking it onto the performance and realizing that when you get in the headspace of performing and the music is live, the change hasn't stuck. So you need to continue to work on it.
Well, that's why Tuesdays are so beneficial with that hour of recorded, because then you can practice, like my thing is like, oh, I'm going to get on the floor and here we go. I don't know what, and whatever it is that you're working on. Right. And then once I do it for the recorded, then I'm like, oh, well, I can do it the next hour to Isaac and Company.
Right.
I can do it.
Yes. Yeah.
It gives me that confidence.
You're
to
right.
have.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's same thing for Wednesday night too, right? If you're working on a solo and you can get that time and do it at Deco, right? So in front of people, same thing, right?
Yes.
An audience it's very different than at your house.
It is very different.
Or
at
in
your
the
house,
studio.
or at the studio.
Yeah.
It is. And I just really feel like, especially with the level of musicians that we're bringing into our experience, I feel like it's only fair that becomes a motivation for people to work on their thing, not to just have that shot up on stage with the NEO. Ow, that was fun, and I kind of knew that song. I'm always reminded of the time we were at Yahalayal, and Badran and some other musicians, I think they had some other musicians sitting in with them, were playing for a bunch of dancers. And the song was Into Omri, the opening part of it. And a dancer was dancing to it, and a woman was sitting next to me. The dancer was an excellent dancer. The woman sitting next to me leaned over and said, something seems like it's not going right up there. What is it? And I said, I'm going to guess that she's listened to that song over and over and over and over with like an accordion or a keyboard playing the lead melody. And that's a clarinet playing right now. And that's a real different feel, And that's what happens. That's what happens when you haven't spent the time separating macro level listening from micro level listening. We're going to talk about that me and Michael and Isaac. That kind of stuff. Like, of course, I'm sure she would say before she stepped on stage, oh, for God's sake, I know the difference between an accordion and a clarinet. Do you? When all that adrenaline is going, when all that energy is at you, when the lights are on and you know, of course you know that. But what you deeply, deeply understand, what you absorb in all of your training is what comes out when you get up there with live music and you're having to improvise. You know, that's why I always say project band, man, it tests fluency and absorption, I guess, you know, like what is really in you, what is really, really, really stuck, what has really stuck.
I mean, that goes back to breaking habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like doing the same thing no matter what instrument it is.
Right.
Yikes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, was that a canoon? No, I didn't catch that.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
What did I do to that
And we've
instrument?
done it. And we've
Yeah,
done it.
yeah.
We work
I mean,
hard and we've done it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But I mean, it's just constantly developing that listening. And that's the other thing, you know, like, and I realize I have a hard time separating project band from go live right now. Makes sense because go live is the child of project band, you know. So, but what did you say? Because now I just it might saw my phone light up. That's an important message, and I'm gonna not look at it. So
I was just talking about breaking that habit. Like
Yeah.
when you were talking about the dancer that was dancing, we're listening to songs that was accordions or something
Yes.
like real squishy, but then now it's a different instrument, and so maybe she needs to be attacking it in a different way.
right,
But
right.
she's got that ingrained in her.
Yes.
It's like, how do you
Still a damn good point. I have no idea what I was
Yeah.
going to say about it.
I mean, how many times have we all done that? And we'll sit there
yeah.
and we'll watch our performance with Karen, and she'll stop it, and she's like, "What are you doing there?"
And you know, as soon as he's like, yeah, you know,
I didn't do that right, did I?
yeah.
Well, and I guess that's what I want to say. I guess that's what I want to say because I do sound like a judgmental, opinionated bitch, and
You're not.
I
You're not.
kind of. Well, I'm not. But I feel like with Project Band, the way we say we're trying to build variety. I mean, if you can explain why you did something or even let's just all learn something. Let's think of a reason why that could be correct. You know, I mean, that's the approach here. It's not like, oh my God, you didn't shimmy all the way through that to an ooh, you're wrong. No. Let's consider how that could have been correct if you didn't shimmy, you know, like whatever. But again, just about variety, and more importantly, about thinking about it, thinking about how live music is serving you in all aspects of your dance, not just how did I get to that live music experience. That's what I want to see on the stages of Go Live.
To be able to vocalize why you did what you did.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It doesn't have to be a good reason. It doesn't have to be correct.
It
but
could be I was just going with the flow for a while, you know, and that works sometimes. That totally works sometimes. It doesn't work through an entire piece of music, you know, but
Or my favorite, I got a little lost and I was just moving.
right, yeah, right.
It happens.
I was saving myself. Yes, of course. Yeah, that was.
It happens.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
just do the best you can to get back on track. And
That's it. Yes. So the last thing on my little list here was that we're going to have this panel discussion, and just talking about all of this. You know, this whole idea of belly dancing to live music, how it all started in the United States. Rumor has it that Susu, of course, is coming, that her mother, Amina, who has been dancing forever and ever, and everyone would have an excellent perspective on this, is coming with her. I really
my
hope
gosh.
so.
yay.
I really
Wonderful.
hope so. Yeah, because that's some good history, and I know that she's got lots of stories to tell. But you know, and then it just disappeared. You know, it was going so strong, and then it just disappeared. We experience it every time we go to Houston. You know, oh, here comes a dancer. Band unplugs and goes and takes a break. You have this, you know, whirlwind of spliced together, completely disconnected, you know, songs coming from all these different sources. And then when she's done dancing, the band comes back on. You know, it's really rare to see a dancer in a repeated standard setting dancing to live music. I do think that, especially post-COVID, there are a lot of shows popping up with live music. Yay on one level, on another, because I don't think that anybody much thinks of it as what can I learn from that experience of having danced to live music. I think that a lot of times it's still viewed as, oh, what a fun opportunity, and the end, But so I do think that those kind of things are sprouting up. But that whole notion of nightclubs or restaurants that have bands playing and then the dancer comes out and performs with the band, that seems to be a thing of the past. I don't know. When we get all these musicians and dancers together talking about it, that might be a pretty interesting discussion. I don't know when it's ever taken place, but it's going to take place here. We'll have Michael, we'll have George, we'll certainly have me, Valerique, Lila, and hopefully Amina and others, and it'll be a super, super fun conversation to have, and maybe something cool can even come out of it. Who knows, other than go live, which is, of course, really cool. All right, what else? What else do we need to say? What do you think, if you had a dance friend, well, you probably do, but if you had a dance friend other than somebody at Caravan somewhere, and they're like, I was thinking of going to this thing, but there's no live music here. I live in, on a farm in Montana, and I do online classes mostly, but ever so often I do like to go and perform in shows and stuff. But why would I want to go live and experience all that? Why would I do it? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that one of the great things I've learned through this whole program is how to really dig in and listen to the music. And I have seen such a difference in how I choreograph things now. It used to be, it's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, same movements, boom, 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 boom. Next date, I do a different movement. Now I choreograph to the music, and I think it's a lot more interesting. I think there's a great deal more variety in my choreographies, and that it's meshing better with the music itself. By forcing me with a live band to actually listen to how they're playing the music, because it's not going to be the same as your canned recorded version. You have to really start to learn to listen. To me, I think that's the whole underlying important thing about Project Band is learning to listen.
You're right. Learning to listen. Yes. And Project Band's first child is named Go Live. Yes.
So, there's so many benefits for those who don't perform with live musicians in dealing with your canned pieces of music, either performing, improv to a canned piece of music or choreographing to a canned piece of music. I think that the result is going to be a richer performance.
Great. Love it. Yes. A richer performance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's been so many songs that I've listened to on the radio that I sang along or whatever, but I've never noticed that the singer starts on count 2.
Yeah.
Or I never noticed that the song was in a 6 count. Never, ever. Didn't have that waltzy feel, right? So I just, nope. Until digging into Project Band and now when I'm driving, I'm like, oh, this is happening and this is happening and this is, and then
oh no, I'm going 30 miles per hour on the freeway.
I am, but same thing in the grocery store. That's how I found my little shirt song when I was outside of a shopping strip and it was playing. And I was like, oh, what an interesting song. And then I choreographed to that song. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
And
Love
same
it.
thing,
Yes.
right? It's the variety and movement and texture and everything else that I wouldn't have had probably before that, is coming out
Okay.
from that.
Awesome. All right. So the bottom line, everybody needs to be there. So got that, people? October 7th, 8th, and 9th in San Antonio, Texas. What's the name of it?
Go
live!
Yay! All right.
Woo!
This is Karen Barbie, baby boomer belly dancer, and Cindy and Jessica. Thanks for joining us. And now that podcasts are restarted, you know what? We'll be back.
Yay!
Is he awake in there to shut us down?